Okay, so we got our defaults done. So let's go ahead and just do this. I just like to do this to oops, not like that. Boom. Oops, not like that. Defaults. Just so that we kind of keep it organized. So we'll say that's defaults. Now let's go ahead and do some nav bar CSS. Okay. Currently, it just has the CSS that's being applied onto the site by the responsive CSS sheet that we connected earlier. Okay. But I would like to kind of override some of that. The easiest way, really, to kind of like, I don't know, do that. What I like to do is I just go. I would open up that responsive style sheet, go down to where it is. So it's let me see, and right here. So Nav Bar Formatting, and I'm just gonna grab this whole section. Do I need the menu button? Yeah, neat theme, or no, not menu button. I'm gonna grab this section here, and I'm just gonna change it because this is the actual stuff that's doing the coloring, which is the link and the nav. So I'm just gonna grab this, Control C. You could also just cut it so you don't have to worry about competing with this. But we already moved that style afterwards, so it should work. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in here. That's a little bit easier to work with. And actually, let's go like this and Shift Tab. Now, most of what I want to do is this. Eventually, the goal is this. We're going to make it so that this backdrop here is a color. This is gray right now. So what I could do is I could go ahead and hard code a color in here for my background, such as it is right now, right? So right now it's going to be gray, and I could put a color in, but depending on what the user chooses, that color is not going to be, if I choose red and the user uses blue, those colors don't match at all. And I could make a setting that they could select that color, but that gets it ends up being a lot to do. So what we're going to do instead is actually just use transparency. So for this one here, I'm just going to go and I'm going to make it black. So I'm going to click and drag down to black. Let's hover over it again. And I'm going to take this and go 50%. Okay? So basically what it's going to do is it's going to be completely black, the color, but it's only going to show at 50%. So it's going to be whatever color we choose, and then it's just going to be a little bit darker of that color because it's transparent. I'm going to do the same thing here, but in the opposite. So I'm going to grab this. Again, I'm going to go like 50%. You almost there. One more down. Nope. One down. There. And then I'm going to go completely white. Okay? And then we're just going to reverse it for these. So I'm going to take this RGBA here, Control C, and I'm going to paste it here, Control V. And then we're going to take this one here, Control C, and put it here, Control V. Okay? And now when I save this, refresh, it's not going to look like too much. This is white, so it's going to show white on white, and it's going to look gray. But what's actually happening is it's actually darkening the with the color underneath this, which is currently white. But if this was red, this would actually show up as kind of pink, the buttons, and that would actually show up as like dark red. And then when I hover over it, it'd be like a dark red, and then that would be pink for the text. Okay, so the idea is that this should be a little bit more dynamic, where I can basically do whatever I want with it as far as like the coloring and stuff is concerned. I'm just gonna pop that up so that they're more close together. We could definitely do more with this, and if you want, you can play around with this a little bit more, but I'm gonna call that good as far as like the buttons are kind of concerned. And then what I want to do is just affect a couple of other things. So for one, see how the image is way over to the left? I'd rather it was like hugging here. So I'm going to make it hug a little bit better by aligning it to the right. And this is where making those CSS things would be useful. So I'm going to go ahead and do hashtag, because remember it was an ID, logo, image. All right. And then we're just going to do text align, and we're going to do right. And that's going to align it to the right. Okay. Now, just remember, I'm getting that from, let me see, this would be in the header. I'm getting that because we put this ID there. So that's where we're getting that ID from, okay? So let's go back here. So that'll align to right, and if I save it and we refresh it, you're going to see it should snap right over here. And see how it didn't, so that's great. Logo, image, where are you? Text align to the right. Why are you not All right, it's got to make sure we're doing that right. I actually think it did move over. It's just the image is kind of big right now, so I think that's why it's not moving over as well as it could. All right, so text align right, and then the other thing I'm going to do is actually change it so that the image isn't so big. Because if you look at the site right now, see how large it is? It's way too big. So what we're going to do is go ahead and try to get the image itself. So we don't just do logo image. We do need to do that. But then we actually want to go inside of it and do A and then image. And that way it will more specifically grab the image that we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to go like that. And then we're just going to go ahead and let's do height. And I'm just going to go and do 5 EM. Remember, EM is the size of the letter M for the page. So, and then we're going to do width. And we're just going to say auto. So that way what it'll do is it'll automatically scale the width to whatever you make the height. Otherwise, it'll stretch it. So we'll save that, and then we'll refresh. Boom. And now you can see how it's aligned to the right because the image is smaller. But now it will make it so it's only ever going to be that big. So no matter how big of a picture the person puts in, it's going to make it only 5 tall, and then it's going to shift it to the right, which is definitely better. Okay. So we've more or less fixed the image there. Let's go ahead and just move the, oops, not this one. We don't need you anymore, actually. Move the menu down a little bit. You can see it's a little bit high. I want to kind of put it more in the center. So I'm just going to do this for the menu. And it's going to be boom. And it's going to be the theme menu. That was the name of the ID we gave it. And all I'm going to do is just do margin top. Margin top. And we'll just do... with a 2 EM, and that will just move it down real slightly. Nothing too fancy, but you should see it shift down a little bit just so it's a little bit lower. I think it looks a little better. Not super necessary, but you know, just to make it look a little bit better. All right, and we could do other things in here too, but I think that's enough to get it at least a little bit closer. You personally, I mean, if you want to make it like centered or whatever you want to do, you can just use these IDs that we already have in here, and that should get you most of the way. The main thing, honestly, that I really needed to do was just to get so that these are transparent, so they'll work with whatever color ends up being the background. Okay.